Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and I hope everybody's done well since the conference a few weeks ago. It's been my good fortune to be the chair for the last 15 years, among many things other than my hair getting grayer, that's for sure. I've also seen some other significant changes in the conference that may reflect on for a minute. The first one, as I can recall, 15 years ago, was about maybe 100 people, and now this past year, 2011, we had about 850 people attending, and amazing, huh? And then I think the vendors, ourselves, we've been there every year, and there were 2 or 3 others in the beginning, and now it's up to like 70 vendors, and all kinds of vendors too. Because there are countries that are offering as options for outsourcing, and there are many more technology offerings as well as consultants. So the whole landscape of the Shared Services Week has really changed. It's certainly more global than it ever was before. Started out as a U.S. domestic conference, and certainly it's very global today. The other thing I think it's interesting is the content has changed significantly and gotten better every year. And personally, I think that's what drives people to come, is the content. And now you see case studies, thorough case studies of shared service operations have been in existence 10 years, some 2 years, some 1 year, all kinds of different perspectives in the case studies. And I think that, and how they've contributed to the bottom line of their companies on cost reduction and ROI, etc. So the content has gravely improved. Clearly, as shared service has evolved as a delivery model, the content of these case studies and presentations have been phenomenal. I think another thing that's changed at the Shared Service Week, I was noting particularly this last time, is the attendees come with very specific needs in mind, very detailed problems, I guess I'd say it that way, they're trying to resolve and solve, and they're pursuing answers, and they're being very active and aggressive in pursuing those answers. I think that's great, because we always push people to network and get to know other people, and you see and hear that at the receptions and the dinners and the lunches, that people are pursuing answers they need. So for us, from the perspective as a vendor and a consultant in the business at the conference, you got to stay on your toes, because you're going to get asked questions, before the conference, during the conference, after the conference, and in the evening. So it's really quite interesting. I think also one other thing I've seen, and the conference's reflection of it, is the industry itself has changed drastically, and it's an industry. Before, it was basically an operating model, delivery model, and frankly, it's a shared service industry, and I couldn't be prouder of that. Let me broaden the conversation a little bit into what I would call shared service industry trends versus the conference trends. One thing I've noticed over the last probably 8 to 10 years is many more what I would call career shared service people. People that have come into the shared service world as leaders of their shared service operation and have stayed and developed their skill base. And that's not the way this whole thing started, 15 years ago or more. It started with functional leaders, HR leaders, accounting leaders, and so forth. And now you're seeing people who are dedicated to the shared service industry, which just is a wonderful thing for our industry. The conversations and the other trend obviously has been going on for a number of years, and technology has been a driver of that, but global discussion and global conversations, and it's a small world. I think I presented that years ago in a keynote speak, this is a small world. There are many options in terms of delivering shared services, in terms of support, and it's driven by technology. Many vendors from all over the world, very competent vendors, that give all of us shared service operators, give you options of how to deliver. Another major trend, and it got reinforced by some studies that were cited at the conference, is that the single function shared service operation still exists, but the movement is strong to the multifunction, which I think is absolutely exceptional, because you're able to leverage the infrastructure of the shared service model to serve different functions and different clients. So I think it's wonderful. It's interesting, another thing, as to my earlier point about shared service professionals, if you link that to other human resource dynamics going on, you have to attend, sooner or later you have to attend to the issue of talent management. I know a number of shared service leaders who have left where they built an operation and who then were asked to go elsewhere to build another one, and so that always creates a vacuum when that happens. And are the shared service leaders in an operation doing succession planning and building their leadership capacity. That's a real present day issue, and one that I think will continue to be a big issue. And then I guess lastly, I think the biggest one I mentioned at Shared Service Week in my keynote that I think is different is the pace at which change is happening and the drive for the shared services operation to absolutely continue to bring value to the corporation. And I think the patience of the stakeholders and customers is less, and the drive to get return is faster. So pace, if you aren't willing to play in a fast-paced world, you're probably not going to do so well in the shared services world. So I think other thing I want to point out that I think has changed is the HR world has changed, and I'll start there because that's kind of where ScottMadden started in the shared services world, building HR contact centers. And there's a big, obviously, global HR leadership has become big because of SAP and Oracle and PeopleSoft and all the enterprise-wide technologies and payroll systems that are driving the global perspective. But it's also, I do believe, for the most part, the human resource organization is now at the table, as they say. They're a true partner, and it's forced the HR organization to improve the delivery model, and it's forced the generalist, if you will, the HR generalist, to take on new roles and hire more strategic roles, which is, I think, a great thing for the HR organization. And I'd say the last thing about HR is they have to be business people. And I mean business people who understand what makes their company profitable. They have to assist on making the HR assets more productive and also their human resource delivery system more productive. So there's a lot of changes going on in the HR world, and as an HR past practitioner, I couldn't be happier about where it's heading. For this foreseeable future, though, I think there are a couple things that will continue. One is the multifunction that's going to continue. I also think that basically non-traditional shared services, engineering, technical services, things that have been considered more operationally focused are going to move into the shared service world. And I think the domestic U.S., because of economic times the last 2 or 3 years, the U.S. is going to become more competitive in terms of their labor cost, and they're going to be a provider in some states, in some cities. And Atlanta, Georgia was, the state of Georgia was at the conference, and ones that have not been there before, and they're trying to position themselves as a high quality, high labor, low cost. And I think you're going to see more domestic U.S. And of course, technologies will continue to advance, making it easier for all of us around to improve our shared service operation. So lastly, I'm excited. I do want to say I've been excited about our 15-year relationship, or longer relationship really, with Shared Service Outsourcing Network. They've done a great job of help growing the shared service industry, and I look forward to, we have a couple things planned with them this year. Coming up this spring, we'll be putting out some more information on our how to deliver better and higher quality HR services. And then also in the fall, we're going to work with them to put out a series of how to improve your supply chain or your P2P operations. So I want to thank Shared Service Outsourcing Network for our relationship. I want to say thanks for visiting with me today, and I cannot wait to see you at Shared Service Week 16 next year. Take care.